Blessed be and happy Imbolc, all my people out there. In this video, we're going to be talking all about the season of Imbolc and, of course, the festival of Imbolc, which is coming up here on the 1st of February as we make our turn on the Wheel of the Year. Last year, I made a big video dedicated to the goddess Brigid, who is one of my patron goddesses, and what you need to know about her as the deity she is, talking about lore, stories, magical and spiritual correspondences, and so on, and offerings. In this video this year, I want to talk about Imbolc the season, as well as activities and prompts that you might want to consider for your own observance of this season, which runs from the 1st of February, the day of the festival itself, all the way up until the March equinox, as well as also share with you some of the activities that I'm going to be working on when I go into my own circle to observe Imbolc. Now, for those of you who might feel like, oh, I don't think I can do anything on the 1st, or I don't know if I can make anything happen, don't get discouraged. You can, of course, do this work or observe Imbolc any time during the Imbolc season between February 1st and the March equinox, or you can even do it a little bit earlier. We are already going into the season itself. We're in that transitional phase. And Imbolc is a very important period. All cross-quarter seasons are. We have 4 throughout the year, but the cross-quarter seasons are the seasons where we have the most power generated from both spiritual actions and mundane actions. Things are amplified, things are propelled and moved by the forces that be because, well, the energy of the veils, of course, is a lot less dense as far as boundaries are concerned, and what we do tends to have a stronger ripple effect or chain reaction effect on our world. It's definitely a time period where a lot of people do well if you have not necessarily been maybe in the zone or practicing all that much. It's a great time to jumpstart your magic, and it's also a great time for beginners who have maybe been doing more studying than working to actually get down to business. So Imbolc marks the period where we observe the return of the light, right? We're coming out of the dark Yule season, and we are emerging from the underworld passage, so to speak, that we've actually been in since Halloween, Samhain, which is another cross-quarter festival. Imbolc marks the return of spring, the beginning, the true start of movement, the stirring of life, and the emergence into a brand new year, as well as also the clearing, the removal, and the replacement of all in our lives that have stopped growing. And it is also a time of rejuvenation. It's a time of healing, a time of road opening, of clearing and rededication. Now, for this work, you can do this both on the mundane and on the magical. So it's important to see where maybe getting in alignment with the seasons, getting in alignment with the energies of what's going on with Gaia herself, means just doing some of the mundane work and catching that good wind. For instance, since it is a time of clearing and purging, a lot of us who are practicing pagans mark this as the beginning of our spring cleaning time. We don't wait until the Gregorian calendar says it's spring. We're already halfway through spring by that point in time. We actually do it in February. And so this is a time where, yeah, deep house cleaning is really, really good to do, right? Moving things that have become stagnant, rearranging the furniture, donating things, getting rid of things that have basically been freezing time and space in your life. Paying attention to where placement and movement can also assist with growing and moving other things that we would like to see thrive and flourish. Because Imbolc also shows us where, okay, the more space, the more time that we sort of enshrine or fossilize to the past, the less space, the less time, and the less movement and activity we have with the present and future. So getting things moving again, getting the bones moving again, This is a time where we would be cleaning out, right, the garden, the farm space, clearing away all of the old brush. As the snow melts, it's time to get the soil ready for the planting season. Maybe it's time to till some things, whether you're doing it literally or you are doing it figuratively with your other activities. This is also a time where you might want to energetically and spiritually cleanse your home and your space with greater effectiveness. Now, you should be doing some cleansing and clearing work on yourself and your home, usually twice a month. I like to do it every other Saturday, or maybe even just following the lunar cycles, new and full moon. That's also good. But this is an especially powerful time for some deep, rich cleaning in and out. This is also a time where you want to be ready to dedicate your tools for work, whether it is for spiritual work or for mundane work in the mortal world. This is a time to bless the tools of your craft, whatever the tools of your craft are. If you're a carpenter, you might be blessing your carpenter's tools. If you're an artist, you might be working with blessing and consecrating your paint set. If you are somebody who works on a computer even, or you work digitally or remotely, turn off your computer one night and cleanse and purify and dedicate that. Digitally, even, do some decluttering. This is the time of year where I go back on, say, Son of Selene, and I just purge and purge and purge and purge so many old forecasts and old horoscopes and old readings that have just piled up, and it really does clean out the energy. Because, people kind of stick to their comments and, different energies and messages can sometimes get a bit sticky. So it's good to set aside a time to make sure you're doing your purges and your cleans where you need to. But on the physical as well, this is a time to consider what else you could do to make some important moves or open some roads in your life. See what you can dedicate or rededicate your time and energy to. Schedule changes. If you're planning on anything that you're looking to move around, this is the time to start experimenting with what works best. We have to remember that if we want something to thrive and flourish, we have to be able to give it time and energy. And magic, I've noticed sometimes people get a little stuck on, all right, magic is just about attraction and removal. Well, here's the thing. If all you do is remove everything, you're going to end up with nothing but a blank canvas with nothing on it. You're just sitting in an empty room. And if all you're doing is attracting and not putting energy out there and giving, then you're becoming a black hole. And neither of those existences are thriving when it comes to anything magical or mundane. So this is a great time to be like, okay, maybe I've been going a little bit too hard on one thing, and it's time for me to switch gears. The Imbolc season is a perfect time for that. When it comes to observing Imbolc itself, of course, you might want to see what is it about this season that is in its greatest power. We've already talked about cleansing and purification and road opening. Healing is also a wonderful thing to do during this time, whether it's invoking healing for yourself, calling in fresh energy, new energy, things that are going to be, replacing what is old, replacing what does need to get moving. Whatever you move on from is something that is getting replaced with fresh energy. If you are releasing or you're doing a lot of purge work, but there are things that you are also looking to keep, you could call in fresh energy to revitalize and give new life to what you have. This is also a time where if you are looking to maybe make a transformation in the way something around you works or holds itself up around you, you could also work on that. For instance, say if you're looking to make a move of some kind, or you're looking to change something about your job or your business or your profession or your craft, very, very strong. This is also a time where divination, any kind of reading work, spirit communication, fortune telling, tarot card reading, runes, any kind of scrying, mediumship. This is also a really, really good art to work in and explore, or start to actually enhance within your own practice, diving into and discovering your own divinatory skills. because when we have cross quarters, again, the veils are thinner, but also at the same time, Imbolc and Goddess Brigid are also tuned in to prophecy. Goddess Brigid herself is the goddess of poets and augurs, of seership and prophecy. And so maybe meditating and working with her, calling upon her for assistance, helping you to maybe discover or empower or energize your own latent psychic or seership abilities, very, very strong during this period too. I am going to be spending this Imbolc focusing on tool dedication. And so if you were looking for an idea of what you might want to do in ceremony or for a spell, this is definitely something you might want to do as well. Because Imbolc is also a beautiful opportunity to learn about entrusting spells. And Goddess Brigid, if you choose to work with Brigid now and henceforth, or just for Imbolc, is a wonderful goddess to work with when it comes to entrusting spells. So, entrusting spells, the name describes itself. It's a spell where you gather everything for a spell, putting it all together, and then you entrust the spell to a deity to actually work the spell. This is something that not every deity will do, and this is not something that you want to do all the time. Now, with Imbolc, it's a little bit different. Traditionally, this is the time where people would bring candles or divinatory tools or altar tools to be cleansed, consecrated, and blessed and enchanted by Brigid herself. And that is what she likes to show up for. It's like she's the star of her own festival. People bring her offerings, and then she, of course, bestows her magic. And Brigid is one of the deities that is friendly to entrusting spells, even with strangers. Normally, when it comes to entrusting magic, you really want to build up a relationship with a deity. You don't want to necessarily just assume that because you have an offering and you have all your tools laid out on the table, that a deity is going to be inclined to do entrusting work with you. But when you come to a time where you might be observing a feast day or a festival, or in this case, a cross-quarter holiday of a deity, and that deity is inclined and open to entrusting spells, it's a good time to look into that and see how it works for you. So I'm actually going to be working with Brigid with an entrusting spell. Now, I work with Brigid all the time. Again, she's one of my deities. So I'm used to her. I'm very familiar with her. But a lot of the time, we are actually working together. But for Imbolc, I am doing some entrusting work with her. And I am going to be dedicating working candles, or she's going to be, I should say. I'm presenting working candles. And I actually went out shopping today, and I got a bunch of candles. I've got this basket here, which is going to hold them. Got a bunch of tea lights in here. Oh, there we go. There's one. Got a bunch of tea lights in here. And I've also got 12 taper candles. And so these candles are basically going to be taken over by Brigid, and she's going to charge them to become working candles that are embodiments and conveyors and purveyors of her presence, her magic, and her consciousness. Now, I'm not going to be telling her what to do with these candles, but I have a trusting relationship with her. Now, she is going to charge them up with everything that is in her purview. What is she the goddess of is going to be available in these candles. So she is the goddess of the flame, of fire, of the holy forge, of holy waters, of truth and of justice, of poets and augurs, of light and purity, of seership and prophecy, of the hearth, the home and healing, of war, of battle and armaments, of the dawn, the sun, the moon, and the stars. And so all of that is going to be packed into these candles. And so if I ever wanted to use one for, say, a healing spell, or because she's the goddess of the forge, if I wanted to use one as an amplifier or something to charge or dedicate another spell, or maybe I wanted to use one of these for protection or something like that, I could. Or maybe light one to charge and rededicate my cards, or to energize my space while I do readings, I will have that available. Don't get greedy with these. I will say that you might be tempted, if you're going to follow along in my example, to get as many candles as possible and just go and clean out, the craft store and ask her to do what she's going to do and dedicate them with her energy and her magic. The thing that you want to avoid is getting too much, because there is a caveat if you choose to go there with her. Mama wants to see you work with what she gives you. Do not take too much if you're not going to use it. Don't get greedy. Only charge and have her work with what you are going to work with, okay? And just think about the nature of Brigid herself and the power that she is giving freely into these candles, and honor it and treasure it, right? Brigid is Mama. She's also a warrior. She's a battle maiden. She's also a blacksmith. She is also a lawyer. She's also a teacher and a prophetess and a seer and a healer. She is also, a conveyor of light and divine force. She is a lot of things, and she is giving that to share. Make sure that you're not being greedy, you're not being grabby, you're not being lazy, and be grateful. I'm also going to be entrusting her with my tarot cards, and I actually have a special tarot box. I've actually drawn a Triskele on top of it. That's the symbol of Brigid. It's one of the triple goddess symbols that's associated with Brigid. I'm not very good at drawing a Breed's cross, and I wanted it to look good. And I've also got some crystals in here that I'm handing off to her, an obsidian, a citrine, and a chevron amethyst. And so this is going to be the house of my tarot cards. And Brigid always is present when I do my tarot readings for people. She is who I invoke when I'm charging my cards and getting ready to do readings. Every week before I put out my weekly forecasts on the Son of Selene, I reset my cards with her and then entrust her to charge the cards before I start reading for the week to come. But this year I wanted to have a more formal kind of house set up for the cards, and so that's what I am doing here. Now, once you've decided you wanted to, what tools you want to dedicate and have blessed, and again, they could be magical tools, they could be altar tools, they could be tools you're going to use like this, or they could be reagents, or they could be even tools for your everyday life, however you wanted to do that. It's just got to be related to something that you do. It's something that you're going to work with, either for personal pleasure or professional pleasure, or for magical work. It's got to be there. It's not something you dedicate. We're not talking about dedicating things to prosperity magic or love magic or anything like that with this. Remember, this is a hard working bitch, and she is going to want to see people get to hard work. Now, you could use these to charge other things for other purposes, but, I just want to make sure I am making that point perfectly clear. Once you've figured out what you're going to what you're going to have charged, if you want to go this route, you might want to think of some offerings to give in thanks. And these are offerings you might also want to consider giving if you are maybe praying to Brigid or calling upon her for a spell of your own, maybe not for dedication, but just simply some work during this season. If you are going to call upon her for healing or for house protection or cleansing or purification, or for anything that is in her purview. Make offerings that are going to show real care and affection and a bit of sweetness to her. There's a list of offerings on my other video, but what I like to do is when I'm making offerings to my deities, I like to make sure I am giving them offerings that both A, are traditional to a certain degree, and then B, also show some love and some care, right? Especially when it comes to entrusting magic, which is what I'm going to be doing. I don't want to just give her like coins or money or something. No, I want to make sure that I am treating her in some way. So I'm going to be making an offering of blueberry wine as well as an offering of milk. Milk is very traditional. Berry wine is also traditional. Dandelion wine is also traditional if you can get your hands on it. But berry wine, Milk. Milk is very much associated with Brigid. In fact, Imbolc means in milk. You could also make offerings of baked goods, bread. I'm actually going to be offering her shortbread, very traditional as well. Anything that's really heavy on the buttery side works really well in this situation. I've also got some biscuits and some cookies that I'm offering, just to show my love and appreciation, and again, express that energy that I know is going to be, of course, going into the work that is coming back to me. But you can also look up other offerings to make for her, but you don't have to make it super complicated, but you do want to make it super special and something that is sincere and from the heart when you're working with any deity. Get to know them, get to understand them, and make sure, again, you're showing your gratitude, especially with entrusting spells. So just some thoughts on what you might want to consider doing as we go into the Imbolc season. Again, you don't have to do this all on February 1st. If you feel called to do this later on in the month of February, or you would like to do it early, that's perfectly fine. It does not matter. This season runs all the way up until the March equinox, and so everyone has time. And you could even ask her to help you with dedicating some other things. This is a time where people will also, charge and dedicate floor washes and anointing oils and things like that. The list goes on. It's all about what you want to do and what you can show you're going to work with if you're going to follow this path. So that is what I've got for you all. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, don't forget my name is Nico, and I will be coming back with more videos here very soon. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, or if you would like me to expand on anything as we go into Imbolc season. It's a very special time for me. It's one of my favorite times of year. February has always been a very good month to me for some reason, and when I have, of course, this beautiful holiday coming up, I do get a little excited, and my energy tends to just get perfectly in sync. So I'm down. Let me know what you think in the down bar below, and I will come back to you all soon. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate it.